Shrimp has been a sought-after and abundant seafood for thousands of years. Traditionally, people use nets to catch shrimp, which continues even today, while of course using more sophisticated mechanical means. Farming shrimp began when small larvae migrated into tidal ponds and were nurtured, resulting in incidental harvests. Historically, supply and demand have not been in sync, and by the middle of the 20th century, neither process could meet demand. By the start of the 21st century, several shrimp fisheries were in collapse. By 2002, the supply chain was dependent on industrial aquaculture. The history of shrimp farming has been rapid and dynamic. What started as a breakthrough in shrimp propagation in 1934 rapidly expanded into a global industry, particularly after 1970, to meet market demands of the United States, Japan, and Western Europe. Moreover, by the early 21st century, farmed shrimp had become the preeminent market source of shrimp. Productivity of farm-raised shrimp increased from 1970 until 1993, when the first major disease struck, white spot syndrome virus. A succession of diseases continues to plague the industry to this day. The disastrous destruction and consequences are laid out in a clip produced by the Mangrove Action Project. Industrial shrimp production has dramatically increased by orders of magnitude since 1970 to meet world demand. Consequently, the harmful environmental issues and unsustainability of shrimp farming continue. Over 95% of the shrimp supply in America is imported. America is now in a competitive position with many other countries for their shrimp supply. American industrial shrimp aquaculture is no longer competitive. It has failed to meet even domestic demand. Only 6,400 metric tons were produced domestically last year. It has become a cottage industry. Change must happen. Despite obvious issues with sustainability and disease problems, Shrimp production is projected to double in 10 years. The projections do not take into account issues with monoculture and currently recognized shrimp diseases, nor is there consideration of newly detected diseases, which spread exponentially throughout the entire shrimp industry. Growth in shrimp production is a function of increased coastal development, better shrimp nutrition, better shrimp breeding, and so on. However, growth is not without costs. Red flags started to be raised as farming intensity started to increase. Disease was the most pervasive of these, and subsequently, marine bacterial diseases began to dominate, decimating the largest shrimp producer in the world, Thailand. The flags are still there, and production is only sustained by even more coastal land expansion. Consumers are beginning to learn about shrimp production abuses, including land destruction, added chemicals including antibiotics, and worst of all, human slavery. Consumer awareness is likely to force some operations out of business. There is a solution, and it works. A small group of scientists and engineers passionate about shrimp aquaculture have created a new industry paradigm, SurSift. SurSift is a new shrimp aquaculture paradigm in which all growth phases are modularized and integrated to form a multiphasic, synchronous, super-intensive shrimp production system controlled by a custom-designed cyber-physical platform. 6 functionally distinct modules constitute a SurSift system. Their functions are laid out in the following. Growing shrimp starts with eggs that undergo metamorphosis into post-larvae. At the end of this stage, the PLs are transferred into the sursift system. Additional factors that are directly related to shrimp production are space, location, and climate. 1 square meter of water in a tropical shrimp pond can be used to produce, at most, 3 crops per year using a batch process. At best, less than 30 kilograms of 26-gram shrimp per square meter per annum can be harvested in the tropics, likely less. However, using a 4-phase synchronous sursift production model and a footprint of 1 square meter, a harvest of greater than 151 kilograms per square meter of 26-gram shrimp can be expected per year. Shrimp are stocked in ponds at very low densities because each system can only support a finite biomass per square meter. Thus, consideration has to be given to the biomass per square meter at the time of harvest, when biomass is highest. Sursift obviates this problem by maintaining an even biomass through the entire process, by dividing grow-out into distinct phases. An even biomass distribution is in part why shrimp can be grown in shallow water. The number of animals per square meter is reduced such that the biomass at the end of each phase does not exceed the carrying capacity of the system. This also reduces animal stress. Hungry shrimp aggressively seek out floating feed pellets. When they grasp a pellet, they go to the bottom of the raceway and consume it. As you can see, there will be no leftovers after this feeding. Shrimp can only find feed that emits a soluble chemoattractant. If the feed resides in water too long, the soluble attractant is dispersed and shrimp will literally starve in the face of plenty. It is therefore important not to overfeed. SurSift pilot studies were carried out using facilities constructed in a laboratory. Prefabricated fiberglass raceways along with gate valves were vertically stacked in a wooden framework. Gate valves were installed on the end of each raceway to facilitate shrimp transfer from raceway to raceway as they grew and for harvesting. Net capture and physical transfer of shrimp is traumatic to shrimp. Using SurSift, shrimp mortality is avoided because transfer occurs seamlessly in raceway water. For operational purposes, a gate valve is opened and shrimp, along with water, pass through an imaging chamber with a connected video camera for shrimp detection. Having passed through the detector, shrimp are then diverted to another raceway or sent to a harvest tank. This is the size of shrimp passing through the shrimp counter. Here we see a photograph of a shrimp passing through the imaging chamber. The imaging chamber itself is a rectangular glass tube that forces the shrimp into a planar order for imaging. The shrimp do not pass through the imaging chamber in single order. A software program interprets the transmitted images to determine how many shrimp are in fact passing through the chamber. The program works very well. Computer-generated counts, when compared to manual counts, were within plus or minus 5%. Shrimp is the #1 seafood consumed in the United States, and consumption rose 11% from 2014 to 2015, according to Undercurrent News, a seafood business magazine. SurSift delivers fresh shrimp harvested daily for market, ensuring consistent high quality. From our harvest to your table.